We've started. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams. So today is the 10th of February, 2024, Saturday, and welcome everybody to our Jaiva Dharma study. And we'll have a short kirtan, and then we'll begin. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Natira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Ramo Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Ramo Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Ramo Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Ramo Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo. Anitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, 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 Jaya Sachi Nandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachi Nandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachi Nandan, Jaya Gaura Hari. Sachinandan Jaya Gaura, O Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe, Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhavika Giridhari. Radha Madan Mohan Ju ki Jai. Nityananda Rai ki Jai. Sachinandana Gaurahari ki Jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om. Astotar Shishimad. Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaurikishoras Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladev Vibhushan Gaudiya Vedantacharya ki Jai. Jai Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shibata Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopal Bharadasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's ki Jai. Jai Swarab Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Prem Sika Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gautandvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritujip Janadvip Modandvip Rudradvip Apaka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dvarasava Martmika Shri Brajamandal Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kun Shama Kun Ganga Devi Jamuna Devi Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani ki Jai. Shrimati Yogamaya Punamasi Devi Maharani ki Jai. Gopishwa Mahadev ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra ki Jai. Ketra Mandal ki Jai. Sarva Vigna Vinashakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan ki Jai. Bhakta Prava Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai. Chari Dham ki Jai. Chari Sampradaya ki Jai. Chari Acharya ki Jai. Akara Mat Raj Shri Chaitanya Mat ki Jai. Keshavji Gaudiya Mat ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Gauta Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Vata Vrinda ki jai, Gauda Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Priya Surupe Daita Surupe Prema Surupe Sahajabi Rupe Nijana Rupe Prabhueka Rupe Tatana Rupe Swabilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavartano Kalo Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Tudikatam Basatipita Sada Hridare Kandare Spuratu Sachachinandanaha Yam Prabhajantamana Paityam Apaitikrityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Tarabo Benedustam Sarvabhutam Munim Hridim Munimnatosmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparara Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charana Ravindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanasti Katyena Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazarashishi Madhila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto our most beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazarashishi Madhila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again unto our beloved Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidanandanamane Gauda Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Vrayate, and unto our glorious Rupanuga Guru Varga and all the assembled Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Tarupyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnave Namaha. So coming to our Falshruti, glorification of the fruit of chanting this Jaiva Dharma, entering into the truths. So we're up to the second set of shlokas, I think, which yesterday we missed. Normally today we would have gone to the last six because it's Saturday, but we missed yesterday, so we'll go back here. Jade Dvaita Jnana Hoya Chita Upadaya Krishna Bhakti Chiratina Upaya Upaya.
Such knowledge, which is solely related to the duality of this dull material world, is fit to be rejected, whereas transcendental knowledge of the divine duality within the spiritual world, Chit Jagat, should be accepted forever within one's heart, both as the Upai, means of attainment, and the Upai, goal worthy of
Yes,
attainment.
this duality within the spiritual world is remembrance of Krishna's pastimes constantly. We should be developing the consciousness where we can perceive Krishna's energy in everything around us, in all circumstances. It's very easy, actually. Practically, there's a trick. I share a little trick, baby trick, that I use all the time. If something seems to just go well, even a little thing, like uh, any detailed thing that you're doing, like cleaning a pot, it just becomes very easy. And personally, I always think, oh, Yoga Maya is interacting. Or if I'm looking for a particular verse or something, and it just comes very easily, I'm thinking, yes, this is the mercy of Shakti Tattva, Yoga Maya. And perhaps 20, 30, 40 things like this happen in a day. And then it's a very enlivening appreciation of the very real potency in the world. It's not just in books, we know. It's the reality of the environment and atmosphere where we live. Krishna is here, tangible. He's within every atom, he's within every heart. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matahar sarvam prabhatante. In all material and spiritual creations, Krishna is there. But now we want to gradually bring our consciousnesses to remember the sweet pastimes in Vrindavan, all the different leelas that Krishna performs with Sri Radhika and the gopis, and how excellent is the demonstration of the gopis' love for Krishna. We are in the Gopi Anugatya. We're following the footsteps of the gopis. This is our goal in life. This is the teachings of Rupa Goswami coming from Sachinandan Gaurahari. So to develop, this needs to be developed because we're coming out of a conditioned consciousness. It needs to be developed, these beautiful Vrindavan Leelas. Jiva Kabu Jadanai, Hari Kabu Nai, Hari
Hari
Saha Jiva
Sahajiva
Chintya
Chintya
Veda
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 Veda.
Mai.
The Jiva is not a product of dull matter, nor is he Keval Advaita, absolutely one in all ways with Sri Hari. The Jiva is inconceivably different and non different from Hari.
Again, an opportunity to remember Krishna and to remember I am a part of Krishna. I am Bibinam Sattva. Krishna is the Anksa. Krishna is the origin. Then there's Swamsa, those that are coming directly from Krishna's body, all the avatars, etc. And then there's the separated jivas coming from the manifestation from the Anksa, from the Swamsas themselves, from Baladev in particular. Baladev Prabhu is manifesting all the jivas in existence, starting from the jivas in Vrindavan, except for the Kaya Vyuha of Sri Radhika. They come directly from Sri Radhika's body. But all the other, Nanda Baba, the cows, Mother Yashoda, the suckers, are all manifesting from Baladev Prabhu. And then in Vaikuntha, all are manifesting from Lord Narayan. And then in this um, world, the material world, all are manifesting from the area of the Brahmand through the Tatasta. We are made of Tatasta. Tatasta is not a geographical place. You can't say this is the. We are made of that marginal energy. We have the quality to embrace full spiritual consciousness or to become completely covered by the external energy. That is our predicament. That is the state we are in. Yes, yes. Well, no. In a sense, no, we're not manifest directly from Karanadakshay Vishnu. We're manifested within the Brahmajyoti first. And it's from the Brahmajyoti that we make our decision to either go back to the spiritual world immediately or to enter the body of Mahavishnu, Karanadakshay Vishnu. All those jivas who are entering into the body of Karanadakshay Vishnu manifest in this material world. They're all carried by the glance of Mahavishnu into the womb of Durga Ma through Shambhu.
Whatever that means, actually.
Huh?
Whatever that means, practically speaking. I mean, it's like difficult to understand that. Actually.
It's inconceivable.
Yes.
It's all inconceivable. Yet we hear from Shastra, from our acharyas. And Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he's told us clearly that more jivas make the decision in the Brahmajyoti to go back to Radha and Krishna's service. More jivas go back. But those who are particularly um, envious ultimately, they come into the body of Mahavishnu and then they manifest from the rays of Mahavishnu. It's described in the 16th chapter here. They're all manifesting. Of course, it's inconceivable. Eternality is inconceivable to us. That's why we can never understand this. And we shouldn't try too hard to understand it. None of the acharyas go into so much detail, actually, because it is we can't understand eternality. Therefore, we can't understand fully this topic. But we can, with our intelligence, appreciate that we made originally the wrong situation and we're making the same wrong situation today. We can't say, well, why did I decide that? The way to understand that, as I was saying to you the other day, that it's not a historic decision. It's a decision that we're making 20 times a day. I'll go towards Krishna, or else I'll satisfy my senses in the material world. So it's the answer to the question is we have to ask ourselves, why am I attracted to the material senses? As soon as the material senses open, the eyes, nose, mouth, etc., it's like a window. And if the attraction dives through that window to enjoy something, to grab something, to exploit something, then we're going to be covered. But if in higher intelligence, I think, no, I want to actually connect internally with my soul. I've left my soul behind, so to speak. My soul has given the power of attorney to the mind. The mind can do anything it wants to do.
Somehow we
And the
attach,
soul is just being dragged along behind.
somehow we attached ourselves to matter and we identify with the matter.
Yes, this is called nishag.
And we are like,
This is
somebody once said it's like a super glue, and we are super glued to the matter.
no, it's
No?
not. It's not super glue. You can break it in a half a blink of an eye in a second. If you say it's super glue, you get the impression that I'm stuck to it. You're not stuck to it. You're only stuck to it as long as your material desires want to enjoy matter, as long as you haven't been educated. And in the very first chapter, it's described this nishag means acquired nature. I have acquired the nature of this material body and thinking that this is me. This identity is me. And these senses are me. Why? Because I have to enjoy. Because by nature I'm Sat Chit Ananda. And if I'm not enjoying service to Krishna, I have to look for service in the material world, in matter. But I'm not matter. I'm spirit. So all these attempts to enjoy matter are just going to drive me crazy, are going to make me more and more into the darkness of illusion. And that's the nature of this material world. But with education, we can begin to see that and begin to do what is in the interest of our soul. If we're always looking for what is the interest of my soul, what is the highest interest? Yes, the highest interest of my soul is to come and listen to Jaiva Dharma. There's no question. It is. Jaiva Dharma, Vaishnava Dharma, Sanatan Dharma. It's describing the activities of the soul. And if we hear these activities regularly, it's going to connect us. Our mind is going to become more connected to that transcendental plane. And it's a gradual connection. There will come little drops of the reality of that, little flashes, so to speak, and I'll realize the truth of that to give us faith, this shraddha. When that shraddha is strong, then more and more I will be turning inwardly to connect with the soul. And then by my connection with the soul, then I'm able to perform my activities, first of all, in Shuddha Sattva, and then Vishuddha Sattva, pure goodness. I'll perform all my activities like that. I won't keep submitting to passion and ignorance. So, first of all, we come to the mode of goodness. That's in the external realm also. But then we move closer in the mode of goodness to connection with and we start to listen to the soul. The soul is there. Paramatma is there. Our objective, though, is not to come to the soul like a Mayavad, but to come to the soul in service to Krishna. The soul has activity. If I think that I just want to connect with my soul so I'm happy and peaceful and shanti, most want to do that. It's
That's
called moksha. Mayavad, yes, and Brahmavad, both. But that is like Brahmavad is like merging into the Brahmand. Or Paramatma also is a distraction also. Because Paramatma realization is not going to take us to activity of the soul. We should contemplate on what is my eternal swarup, what is my eternal identity in the spiritual. We don't know that. We can never know that until Guru gives us that benediction of knowledge, knowing that. Guru will give that. We hear in Jaiva Dharma, Vijay Kumar and Brajanath, they're both given their Siddhadeya. They're both given their perfect spiritual identity. But we should be considering that spiritual identity. What is my Siddhadeya? And my Gurudev has given us all that. I was saying yesterday in Radhakund one time, because when we go to Radhakund, it's always the Babaji's there. And my Gurudev said, now I'm going to give you all your Siddhadeya. Listen carefully. Chinada pi sunichena, tarora pi suhishana. And this is the truth. If we can actually be humble to the Supreme Lord, fully submissive to Him, then all of these truths will just become realized very, very shortly, very quickly. The story goes on. Deha kapa jiva nai, dara bhogya nai, dasra bhogya jiva Krishna Prabhu bhakta hai.
The material body should never be considered to be the jiva, and this earth is not for the jiva to
That's
exploit
what we've
and
just said.
enjoy.
We've just said exactly the same thing. Go ahead.
The jiva swarup is Krishna
Yes,
Das,
Krishna does. That's all.
and thus he is meant for Krishna's enjoyment.
Yes, when he tries to take his own enjoyment, he's going to get messed up.
Whereas Shri Krishna's swarup is Prabhu, master, and bhokta, enjoyer.
And we should come to love him in our activities, the reality of that, not abstract, not like Brahmavad or Mayavad, not in an abstract way, but in a direct way, through the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jaiva
Jaiva
Dharma
Dharma
nahi
nahi
ache,
ache,
Deha
deha
Dharma
dharma
kata,
kata,
nahi
nahi
ache
ache
Jiva
jiva
Gyan
gyani
Mayavada
mayavada
Prata.
prata. This book, entitled Jaiva Dharma, neither discusses matters related to the dead material body, nor does it propound the Mayavada doctrine of the jiva's oneness with Brahm.
Jiva Nitya Dharma Bhakti Tahe Jadanai, Shuddha
Shuddha
Jiva
Jiva
Prema
Prema
Seva
Seva
Pala
Pale Payatai.
Payatai.
The jiva's Nitya Dharma is bhakti devoid of material motivation. The jiva, purified by seva, attains the fruit of that seva in the form of prema.
Yes, that's the activity of the transcendental soul. Its pure spiritual activity is seva. And we begin that seva in this material world by worshipping Takoji, by offering our boga, by serving the Vaishnavas, by serving the Dham, all of these different, by serving Nam, all of these different opportunities of seva. And gradually, gradually, the soul becomes very happy when we're performing Krishna seva or Radha seva or Dham seva, because that's its constitution. And the more we engage in that, the more we're going to connect the mind with the soul. So the mind won't have its own mind, so to speak. The mind can be like a wild horse running through the windows, the material openings of the objects of the senses. That has to be restrained. So we're up to page 232. And I'm just going to reiterate what we spoke last time because it was 2 days ago now. So this is an incredible chapter about the history. And Vaishnava Babaji is relating from time in antiquity, from Lord Brahma. This Vaishnava Dham has always been present, coming down through the ages. There's never been a time when Vaishnava Dham is not there because it's the eternal reality of the soul. That's why. And it's nothing to do with sectarianism. All creatures in existence have souls. It's about the science of the soul. So it cuts across all sectarian considerations like religion or this or that or so on. So Nyaya says, why is it that so many low-class people accept Vaishnava Dharma? Good question, right? Because previously he's a Brahmin and he wants to maintain his Brahminical status with all the money coming in, etc. Because this is what they become attached to. And he wants to know, why are these low-class people? And this is the gift of Mahaprabhu. Vaishnavadas, this should not be a cause for doubt. Most low-class people consider themselves quite wretched and downtrodden, and thus they are eligible for the mercy of the Vaishnavas, without which one cannot become a Vaishnava. Humility cannot touch the heart of one who is intoxicated with pride of high birth and wealth, and consequently it is very rare for such people to obtain the mercy of Vaishnavas. We can consider the nature of the 4 yugas. In such a yuga, men would live for 100,000 years, and there were 4 brilliant qualities that were all encompassingly present on the planet. Shantaha, everyone was completely peaceful. Sohrit, everyone was friendly to all other people. Niravaha, there was no envy, total absence of envy. That's a remarkable quality for a start. And Somaha, they were beyond the jurisdiction of the modes of nature. These four qualities, they lived for 100,000 years. And the Yuga Dharma was meditation. And they had very easily complete control of their senses and mind externally. It was very easy for them. The fruits would come by themselves. The grain would just grow by itself. They were all called Paramahamsas. They were the race of Paramahamsas, we can say. But who were the incarnations of Krishna that manifested at this time? Vaikuntanath, Dharmaraj, Yogeshwara, Paramatma, all Aishwarya manifestations of the Lord. They would be meditating. That is the Yuga Dharma, to meditate. So their conclusion of their meditation was connecting with these Aishwarya personalities. And then Treta Yuga. This is all described in Canto 11, Chapter 5, from verse about 20. You can all see it's fascinating. It's the history of the yugas, and it's all there very clearly as I'm saying it. So in Treta Yuga, there was two good qualities that were all pervasive. It's like, to understand this all pervasiveness we see in Kali Yuga today, there's not a single place on the planet where people aren't arguing. People aren't fighting. Even if there's no one there, the person's fighting with themselves. There's this strife. Manda sumanda mataya, mandobhagya uparudita. Everyone is disturbed, from the North Pole to the South Pole, all the countries of the globe. I mean, you've just got to look at a newspaper and you see that just wars everywhere. That's the nature. So in Satya Yuga, it was completely the opposite of that. But the manifestation of Krishna was only Aishwarya. And principally, it was focused on moksha, because Paramatma is there, which is like a moksha, liberation state. And that's what they would aspire for. Then in Treta Yuga, the Yuga Dharma was yagya, sacrifice. They would hold elaborate sacrifices. And the lifespan was 10,000 years. And the qualities were Dharma Vardinaha and Brahma Vardinaha. They were very, very dharmic, and they were very Brahminically qualified because they would be doing these yagyas, etc. So it was very auspicious. They had to perform these sacrifices to make their conditioned state auspicious. It wasn't naturally auspicious like it was in Satya. And again, who were the avatars that appear in Treta Yuga? There's a whole list and they're all Aishwarya personalities, like Vamanadev. Vamanadev, he appears in Treta Yuga with his ladle for yagya. So this was the nature of there. And then in Dwarpa Yuga, there's only one good quality. So there's 4 in Satya Yuga, 2 in Treta Yuga, and 1 in Dwarpa Yuga. That's Jignasavaha. Everyone is inquiring, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Krishna appears at the beginning of Dwarpa Yuga in this Manvantara. And people would worship him like a king in a very mood of opulence. And the Yuga Dharma was deity worship, very, very opulent. And the manifestation of Krishna in Dwarpa Yuga is Lord Narayan. This is the manifestation. Krishna manifests, but the focus of the general populace is to worship Lord Narayan, which is higher than the focus in Treta Yuga. And it's certainly higher than the focus in Satya Yuga. So even though you've got such a wonderful atmosphere, if you haven't got the mercy of Mahaprabhu, actually you haven't got any gold. You haven't really got the full opportunity and satisfaction. That's why there's a verse in that 11th canto, 5th chapter, describing how the residents of Satya Yuga are queuing up to take birth in Kali Yuga. Even though Satya Yuga is so full externally of all these things, but it's in Kali Yuga, and it's like in this paragraph we've just read, when the people are most downtrodden, there's a natural humility that comes in the hearts. Pride is there as well, because that's the anarta of the age. That's the anarta of conditioned souls. But also this humility is there. Because honestly, even if you're an educated devotee, you still don't feel you have anything. Because there's so much contamination in the atmosphere. Pollution, to just breathe, pollution of sound. The food is polluted. Conversations are polluted. Everything is polluted. So what hope does a person have to retain a sattvic focus? But in this age, at this time, the highest conception. So you have here Satya Yuga, you have here Kali Yuga, and as the ages come down, the attainment goes up. It is so encouraging that we are in the darkest of the dark Kali Yugas, and yet we have the radiance of Mahaprabhu's lotus feet just 500 years ago, booming out the understanding of Radha Dasyam through Rupa Goswami, through our whole line. So even though it's Kali Yuga, it's actually the most, it's the best place for the soul to become qualified for these truths. In such a yuga, you would never become qualified.
Good quality.
Huh?
Good quality of Kali Yuga. What?
There's no good qualities, Lalit Priya, no good quality. Manda, Sumanda, Matayo, Upagritatha. That one is lazy, short-lived, short memory, and above all, always disturbed. These are the qualities everywhere of Kali Yuga. So the Vaishnavas, they want to transcend these material qualities that are there. And by practicing our Vaishnava Dharma, we can come to a sattvic consciousness. And even we remain in that sattvic consciousness for some time, we can even progress into Vishuddha Sattva. But it's not common, it's rare. It's not that everyone is going to become, because if you suddenly become very sattvic, you're surrounded by people who are not sattvic, and it'll pull you down constantly into an. And the idea of life is not to go and live on top of a mountain, but if we're serving Krishna, if we're doing this seva, and if we're doing Nam seva, Dham seva, Vaishnava seva, then everything is going to become auspicious and elevated for the individual consciousness. The collective consciousness may happen, may not. That's up to Krishna to arrange. If you meet 3 or 4 people of the same consciousness, that's something incredible. But for the most part, we have to develop and cultivate these internally first. And when you've developed them fully internally, then you can share them with whoever you feel is resonating with you like that. You understand?
I
But
don't know good quality in Kali Yuga. Someone saying it's truthfulness.
oh, I see. Yes, like that. Yes, truthfulness is still here. Yes, now I understand what you mean. Yes, a small remnant of truthfulness remains. Yes, correct. Coming through.
Cool.
Truth is the last place to hold on to. Because now we see it's just collapsing. Even truth is collapsing everywhere. So the devotee has to hold on. Like Shastra is fully eternally truthful. If we hold sincerely to this, very good. Thank you. I didn't quite understand what you were saying. I was just thinking of the all-pervading global qualities. But yes, within there is this one remnant of truthfulness we see in the beginning of the Bhagavatam in the first canto.
Because it's also said that the earth can tolerate everything, but they cannot tolerate.
An untruth.
Yeah.
Yes, very
So
true.
because it's still existing, so it's a
Yes,
proof that there is some truth.
very good. Good point. Yes, yes. She hasn't erupted and thrown tsunamis all
Yet.
over the planet yet because there's still some truth. Very good. But just appreciate this, what Vaishnav Das is saying about how for the lowest downtrodden people, they have access to this truth, whereas the most, he's saying just locally, he's talking about like the proud brahmanas, etc. They won't actually have access to Mahaprabhu because they'll be too proud of their caste, etc. So they're going to miss it. Okay, you got the point. Nyaya Ratna, I don't care to discuss this topic any further. I can see that you will inevitably quote the harsh descriptions from Shastra of the Brahmins of Kali Yuga. He's become shy. I feel greatly pained when I hear particular statements from the Shastra, such as this one from the Varaha Purana.
Rakshasah kalim ashrita jayante brahmayonishu.
Taking refuge of the age of Kali, demons are born in the families of Brahmanas. Well, we understand. Clearly, we should expect it. It's like in Satya Yuga, the demons were on other planets. In Treta Yuga, the demons were in other countries. In Dwapara Yuga, the demons were in other states, so to speak, in other provinces. But in Kali Yuga, the demons are in the same body. We have a little demon ready to jump out and create complete havoc unless we purify those tendencies. So it takes work. We have to study. We have to hold the Shastra. Let us not pursue this topic any further. Now please tell me why you don't respect Sankaracharya, who is a limitless ocean of knowledge. Vaishnavadas. Why do you say that? We consider Sri Shankaracharya to be an incarnation of Sri Mahadev. Sriman Mahaprabhu instructed us to honor him by addressing him as Acharya. We only reject his Mayavad doctrine because it is a covered form of Buddhism, which the Vedas do not support. That's like impersonalism. On Bhagavan's order, Sankaracharya distorted the meaning of the Vedas, Vedanta, and the Gita, and he broadcast the false doctrine of impersonal monism, known as Advaitavad, to convert those men who had a demonic nature. What fault is there in this for which Sankaracharya should be condemned? He was asked, requested by Krishna to do such a onerous task. He had no desire to do that. He did it. Buddha Dev is an avatar of Bhagavan, who also established and preached the doctrine that is opposed to the Vedas. They did this to stop the animal slaughter. They did it for a purpose. But do descendants of the Aryans condemn him for this? Someone may disagree with such activities of Sri Bhagavan and Mahadev and claim that they are unjust, but we say that Bhagavan is the protector of the universe and Sri Mahadev is his representative, and they are both all-knowing and all-auspicious. Bhagavan and Mahadev cannot possibly be guilty of injustice. Those who blame them are ignorant and narrow-minded and cannot understand the deeper significance of their activities. How can you blame Krishna for his arrangements? Shankaracharya Mahadev is connected with Krishna. There's no smell of fault with Shankaracharya, ultimately. Bhagavan and his activities are beyond human reasoning. So, so intelligent people should never think Ishvara should not have done that. It would have been better for him to do this. This is madness. Someone from the material plane trying to legislate the activities of the transcendental plane. Absurd. Ishvara is the director of all jivas, and only he knows the necessity for binding men of ungodly nature with the doctrine of illusion. We have no means of understanding Ishvara's purpose for manifesting the jivas at the time of creation, and then destroying their forms at the time of cosmic annihilation. This is all Bhagavan's Leela. Those who are intensely devoted to Bhagavan experience great delight in hearing his pastimes. They don't like to engage in intellectual debates about these matters. The bhaktas of Bhagavan are so enlivened just by considering Krishna's pastimes. We said this at the very beginning in reference to the Falshruti. The duality in the spiritual world is totally intoxicating for the bhakta and the sadhak. He just wants to remain in that place of consciousness. And all these difficulties are like the illusory projections. Nayaratna, that is all right, but why do you say that Mayavad doctrine is opposed to the Vedas, Vedanta, and the Gita? Vaishnava Das, if you have carefully examined the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutra, kindly tell me which mantras and sutras support the doctrine of Mayavad. I will then explain the true meaning of those statements and prove that they do not support Mayavad at all, because they pick out these statements, these Mahavakyas they claim, Aham Asi, Aham Brahmasya,
Brahmasmi.
Ham Brahmasi, all these different statements, and they're saying that this is in relation, that they're cutting a little piece out and they're making it into a separate statement and making a whole philosophy out of it. It's exactly the same as Bhaktivinoda Thakur when he's talking about this ladder from karma yoga to jnana yoga to moksha to bhakti. If you think that karma yoga is a separate existence to itself, then that is going to create havoc. Likewise, if you think that these Mahavakyas have a separate existence to the entirety of Shastra, you're just going to create, another illusionary philosophy. Vivadvad. I will then explain the true meaning of those statements and prove that they do not support Mayavad at all. Some Vedic mantras may appear to contain a faint trace of Mayavad philosophy, but if one examines the mantras that come before and after that interpretation will be instantly dispelled. Yes, you can't take it out separately like that. Nyayaratna, brother, I have not studied the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutra. He calls him brother because now he wants to make a little bit of friendship because he hasn't actually done his homework at all. When it comes to a discussion of the Nyaya Shastra, I am ready to discuss on any topic. Through logic, I can turn a clay pot into a piece of cloth and a piece of cloth into a clay pot. I have read a little of the Gita, but I have not entered into it deeply, so I cannot say any more on this point. Instead, let me ask you one more question on another topic. So it's very nice. He's been purified. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving this example of someone who's being receptive to the teachings. He's not objecting because we see at the end it's all going to be successful. You are a learned scholar, so please properly explain to me why Vaishnavas don't have faith in the remnants of food offered to the Devas and Devis, although they have great faith in Vishnu Prasad. Vaishnav Das. I am not a scholar, I am a great fool. You should know that whatever I am speaking is only by the mercy of my Gurudev, Paramahamsa Babaji Maharaj. No one can know all the Shastras, for they are a limitless ocean. But my Gurudev has churned that ocean and delivered the essence of the Shastras to me. I have accepted that very essence as the conclusion that all the Shastras have established. So he's giving all credit to his Gurudev. And it's the truth, because that's where that current of bhakti is coming from. The answer to your question is that Vaishnavas do not disrespect the prasad of the Devas or Devis. Sri Krishna is the supreme controller of all controllers. Therefore, he alone is known as Parameshwara. All the Devas and Devis are his devotees, and they are appointed to positions in the administration of universal affairs. Vaishnavas can never disrespect the prasad of bhaktas, because one obtains Shuddha Bhakti by honoring their remnants. The dust from the bhaktas' feet, the nectar-like water that has washed bhaktas' feet, and the nectar-like food that has touched bhaktas' lips are three types of prasad that are supremely beneficial. They are the medicine that destroys the disease of material existence. So Vaishnavadas is clearly explaining the honorable place and what is Vaishnava Prasad or Vishnu Prasad. The fact is that when Mayavadis worship the Devatas and offer food to them, the Devatas do not accept it because the worshippers are contaminated with attachment to the doctrine of illusion. We're offering to the Devas because we want something in return. That's why we offer to Durga Ma. We see in so many homes, most of the homes, in Bengal in particular, all are offering to the Devas. There is ample evidence of this in the Shastra, and if you ask me, I can supply the quotations. The worshippers of the Devas are mostly Mayavadis, and it is detrimental to one's bhakti and an offense to Bhakti Devi to accept the prasad of the Devas when such people have offered it. If a pure Vaishnava offers the prasad of Krishna to the Devas and Devis, they accept it with great love and begin to dance. And if a Vaishnava then takes that prasad, he experiences tremendous happiness. That's the route, to offer to Krishna and then offer to the Devas. Like if you want to free some ghost or something, you give them Krishna prasad, it will take it away. Another point to consider is that the instruction of the Shastras are all powerful, and the Yoga Shastras direct practitioners of the yoga system not to accept the prasad of any devata. This does not mean that those who practice yoga disrespect the prasad of the devatas. It simply means that giving up prasad helps those who are practicing yoga sadhana to attain one-pointedness in meditation. If you take and practice offering your bhoga to devas, you're going to be distracted from your nishta to, huh?
Ananya.
Yes, it won't be Ananya Bhakti anymore. Why did Prahlad not get poisoned by his father? Because as soon as that prasad was offered, he was calling Lakshmi Dev, please take this, take, and she would take all the poison out of that. So Prahlad survived. Where are we up to?
1 point.
Thinks that one cannot attain.
Yes.
Similarly, the in bhakti sadhan, a bhakta cannot attain exclusive devotion to Bhagavan, who is the object of his devotion, if he accepts the prasad of any other deva. It is therefore a mistake to think that Vaishnavas are averse to the prasad of other devas and devis. The various practitioners only behave in that way to try to attain perfection in the respective goals as the Shastra recommend. They're trying to offer, but it's something that has gone to Krishna first. Nayaratna, all right, that is clear. But why do you oppose the killing of animals in sacrifice when the Shastras support it? Vaishnav Das, it is not the intention of Shastra that animals should be killed. The Vedas declare, Mahingsat Sarvani Bhutani. One should not commit violence to any living entity. This statement forbids violence to animals. As long as human nature is strongly influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance, people will be spontaneously driven to illicit connection with the opposite sex, meat eating, and intoxication. Such people do not ask the Vedas to sanction their activities. The purpose of the Vedas is not to promote such activities, but rather to curb them. When human beings are situated in the mode of goodness, they can naturally refrain from animal slaughter, sexual indulgence, and intoxication. Until that point, the Vedas prescribe various means to control such tendencies. For this reason, they sanction association with the opposite sex through marriage, vivada, yagya, the killing of animals in sacrifice, and the drinking of wine in particular ceremonies. By practicing in this way, these tendencies will gradually wane in a person, and he will eventually be able to give them up. This is the true purpose of the Vedas. They do not recommend the killing of animals. Their intention is expressed in the words of Srimad Bhagavatam 11:5-11.
लोके व्यवायामिंसा मद्यसेवा नित्यस्तु जन्तोर्नहि तत्र चोदना व्यव व्यवस्थितिस्तेषु विवाह यज्ञ सुरग्रहेर आशु निवृत्तिर इष्टा.
It is observed that people in this world have a natural tendency toward intoxication, meat eating, and sexual enjoyment, but Shastras cannot sanction their engagement in such activities. Therefore, special provisions have been given whereby some association with the opposite sex is permitted through marriage. Some eating of flesh is permitted through performance of sacrifice, and the drinking of wine is permitted through the ritual known as Sotramani Yagya. The purpose of such injunctions is to restrain the licentious tendencies of the general populace and to establish them in moral conduct. The intrinsic purpose of the Vedas in making such provisions is to draw people away from such activities altogether. Nyayaratna is thinking that, oh, it's been sanctioned in the Vedas. He's just picked out where you can perform a yajna and offer an animal in the sacrifice, and therefore we can eat the sacrifice. But this is only a provision to try to bring the people away from that. Understand? It's very simple. The Vaishnava conclusion in this regard is that there is no objection if a person whose nature is ruled by passion and ignorance kills animals. However, a person who is situated in the mode of goodness should not do so, because causing harm to other jivas is an animalistic propensity. Sri Narad has explained this in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.13.47.
अस्तानि स अस्तानम् आपदानि चतुष्पदम् फाल्गुनी तत्र महतं जीवो जीवस्य जीवनम्.
Living entities without hands are prey for those with hands. Life form without legs are food for those four-legged. Small creatures are subsistence for large ones. In this way, one living entity is the means of existence for another. The verdict of Manusmriti 5.56 is also very clear.
न मांसभक्षेण दोषे न मध्ये न च मैथुने प्रवृत्तिरेष भूतानां निवृत्तिस्तु महाफलः.
Abstinence from activities such as sexual indulgence, meat eating, and intoxication yields highly beneficial results, although a human being is naturally inclined to them. He's inclined to them in Kali Yuga. In the previous ages, they were not so much inclined. Certainly in Satya Yuga, not at all inclined. And in Treta Yuga, absolutely minimal. In Dwapara Yuga, practically minimal. But in Kali Yuga, because the senses are so uncontrolled that they find pleasure. Actually, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada explains that in the end of Kali Yuga, the living entities will realize what is the most tastiest meat. The most tastiest meat is human meat, human flesh. People will become cannibals in the end of Kali Yuga. And they've actually already discovered this in Japan and places like that, in China, where they put little baby fetuses in bottles. And anyway, pretty horrible. Nyayaratna, yes, but why do the Vaishnavas object to the Shraddha ceremony and other activities that are meant to repay one's debt to the forefathers? Vaishnavadas, people who are intent on carrying out prescribed pious duties perform the Shraddha ceremony in accordance with the Karma Kanda division of the Vedas. In other words, those Karma Kandis. They're not focusing specifically on Gyan Bhakti or on pure Bhakti. Vaishnavas have no objection to this, but Shastra declares,
देवर्षि भूतप्ता नृणां पितॄणां न किङ्करो नायं ऋणी च राजन् सर्वात्माना यः शरणयं गतो मुकुन्दं परिहारते कर्तम्.
O king, when a human being gives up the ego of independence from Bhagavan and takes full shelter of Sri Mukunda, sorry, I'll read that again. O king, when a human being gives up the ego of independence from Bhagavan and takes full shelter of Sri Mukunda as the supreme refuge, he is released from his debts to the Devas, to sages, the general living entities, family members, mankind, and to the forefathers. Such a devotee no longer remains subordinate to such personalities, nor is he bound to their service. So this is clear. Consequently, bhaktas who have taken shelter of Bhagavan are not required to perform the Shraddha ceremony and other Karmakanda activities meant for gaining release from the debt to one's forefathers. They are instructed to worship Bhagavan, to offer Bhagavat Prasad to the forefathers, and to honor Bhagavat Prasad with their friends and relatives. So Vaishnavas have no compulsion to do that. Nyayaratna, at what point does one obtain the position and eligibility to act in this way? Nyayaratna is quite shocked, actually. How can I be liberated from offering the Shraddha ceremony? Because we know in all Indian households, this is the most important thing at the the deceased relatives to offer the shraddha, etc. But for a Vaishnava, it's not necessary. We do it socially, but it's not necessary. um, Vaishnava does. It is the prerogative of a Vaishnava to act in this way, and one becomes eligible from the time that one awakens faith in Harikatha and Harinam. He asked, what was the eligibility to stop doing this? When one develops faith in Harikatha and Harinam. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam,
तावत् कर्माणि कुर्विता न निर्विद्येत यावत् मत्कथा श्रवणान्दु व श्रद्धा यावां न जायते.
one is obliged to engage in karma and to follow the rules and prohibitions associated with that path as long as one has not wakened detachment from fruitive activities and the result of such activities, such as promotion to the celestial planets, or as long as one has not awakened faith in hearing and chanting my Leela Gata. So he's answered his question very clearly there. Nyayaratna, I'm delighted to hear your explanations. Seeing your scholarship and fine discrimination, my faith has now been awakened in Vaishnava Dharma. You see, their sanskars in the beginning were actually good. They had good sanskars, but they had been misled. They were practicing the Nyaya Shastra. They were not offending directly the Vaishnavas. They were not happy with the Vaishnavas, but their approach to the Vaishnavas is an example of Tadvidi Pranipatena. They came in a mood to actually have these questions answered. My brother, Harihara, there is no profit in debating any further. These Vaishnavas are great teachers among Pandits. They are exceedingly expert in extracting the conclusions of all the Shastras. We may say whatever we like to preserve our occupation, but it is highly doubtful whether anyone has ever appeared in the land of Bengal, or in all of India for that matter, who can compare with such a renowned scholar and exalted Vaishnava as Nimai Pandit. Let us go. The day is waning, and it will be difficult to cross the Ganga after dark. Nayaratna and his group of teachers departed, calling out, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. The Vaishnavas then began to dance and chant, Jai Sachinandan, Jai Sachinandan. This is actually reminding me of, if you look at the Manusamhita, the Manusamhita describes that text, describes all of these prohibitions, etc. What is going to be conducive for the living entity in this age? And the whole Varnashram system is also described there very clearly in the Manu Samhita. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quoting in that mood of what is beneficial for the welfare of the soul. So there's a certain um, practice that we can engage in, a limited to a limited extent, of drinking wine, of taking meat, etc., all contained with the intention of purifying. This is what is in. And if we don't follow the Shastra, then we are even less than dog eaters or antyaja. We are right outside. The Shastra is there for everybody. So if we're coming from a low place and we've accepted and embraced the Shastra, Bhagavatam, then we are to be considered eligible for that Paramahamsa stage, especially in Kali Yuga. Because another point about Kali Yuga is that even if you think about a bad activity, there's no consequence for it. But in Satya, Treta, and Dwapara Yuga, if you think of doing something bad, bang, you will get reaction for it. But in Kali Yuga, if you think of murdering someone, I hate my grandmother, I hate my mother-in-law, I want to kill her, no reaction. I mean, the amount of mercy, this is what I'm pointing on, the amount of mercy that is here in this age. But the biggest mercy, of course, is coming from the transcendental quarter and lotus feet of Sachinandan Gaurahari and Rupa Goswami and all our Guru Vargya. And if this is captured and leave aside the impersonal monistic philosophies of moksha, etc., and just focus on the activity of the soul, not just looking for the soul to become peaceful and happy in this material world. That's not our objective. Our objective is to wake up. What is my spiritual activity in the spiritual world? Always keep the objectives of the Vrindavan Dham, Gora Dham, very prominent. So Vaishnava Dham ki jai. Jaiva Dharma ki jai. Sanatan Dharma ki jai. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo Hare Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Shri Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai Jaiva Dharma Ki Jai. So I went a little quickly through this last part of this chapter 10, but if you've all familiarized yourselves with the teachings, it's all quite straightforward. It's nothing really testing our ability to understand particularly. What will test our ability is to follow. We're hearing these truths, but can we follow them? We'll follow them with Guru's mercy, with the Vaishnava's mercy, with the Dham's mercy. That's how we will follow. So also, yes, I went quickly, but I'm confident that all will read these chapters again and again and again and again. So we have been through it once, and you've understood the um, subject matter, for example, of the 10th chapter and history. And when we go through again, we'll understand it more deeply. So we're just trying to familiarize ourselves with the whole Jaiva Dharma. Gold Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.